Look
All
at you
right,
right now.
we are live now on the Mo Money Sports Network. It's a busy night. It's at the buzzer. We know we usually come to you pre-recorded on a Wednesday night, but it's so nice that we're gonna be with you twice. It
Hmm.
is trade deadline. I am your host slash leader of the Mo Money Sports Network. I know because my name's on the channel. With me, as always, is my co-pilot, my homie. Uh, he is the Mike Bibby dropping assists everywhere you look, and
Oof,
he is the
oof.
bistro of basketball knowledge. Gee, how you doing?
Doing good, man. I'm not going to tell you how I remember my name these days, but it's the old school variety.
Oh,
The
look,
bistro
Roy's
is
popped in
good.
already. Butler to Golden State. This is true. Jimmy
Let's go.
Butler
Yeah.
to the Golden State Warriors is a done deal. Valanciunas to the Sacramento Kings to help out Zach LaVine is also done. One of the more curious deals that I saw today was Chris Middleton to the Wizards for Kyle Kuzma, which I kind of went, huh?
Hey, man,
But
eventually everybody gets sent to the pastures. Let's just say that old Yeller was, he's in a better place now. Middleton's in a, he didn't go, he was let go. Yeah.
there's
He,
so much
he,
going on
yeah.
in the league. The rumor has it the ranch is going somewhere we just don't know where yet. Uh,
And yeah, where do you want to start?
where do
I
we
guess start with
start?
the big one, Butler. What's your first reactions to the Butler thing here?
Miami got a haul. That's my first reaction. When you
What's
look
the
at
most
Kyle
valuable
Anderson,
pieces? Okay,
when you
okay.
look at when you look at
Did they
Dennis
keep
Schroeder, Kyle and
let's
Andrew
pull up
Wiggins,
the
the
full
fact that
thing,
they got
right?
Andrew Wiggins out of this deal, I'm
Because I
gonna
think there
say,
was, I don't know if the Heat got all of those pieces. I think there was more teams involved.
oh
We gotta
really?
double
Well,
check
that's
here.
that was the deal
Yeah,
that I saw.
yeah. Because I think Kyle Anderson went to. God, I even heard he was going to the Raptors. Um,
Well, at the time I read it, that was the deal. But let me look that
let's
up
see here.
again.
Hold on. I got the PJ Tucker was involved somewhere along the way too. Um,
Oh,
okay, here
we've
we go.
got
Here we
Jimmy
go.
Butler, Andrew Wiggins to the Heat with PJ Tucker, Kyle Anderson in a first, Josh Richardson, and Lindy Waters going to the Pistons.
I don't know why they said it was okay, so yeah, Lindy Waters, Josh Richardson, Utah going, or Schroeder's going to Utah. So Andrew Wiggins, PJ Tucker, and a pick. So pretty much Andrew Wiggins and a pick, first round pick.
Mhm.
I don't know. Is that a haul?
For Jimmy Butler, the same guy you said was worth a bag of basketballs.
So the Raptors did get
Uh,
Kyle Anderson. Um, yeah, but isn't Andrew
and
Wiggins worth about the same? So really, you're just trading him and a protected first round pick?
I don't know.
Like
I think
if I were to come to you and say Wiggins and a first round pick for Jimmy Butler, it feels like a fair deal.
I don't know if Shams has any deals. I'm basically what I'm gonna do is if a deal breaks, I'm gonna read it off the score app because that's usually where I get it from. I don't
Oh, and
Shams
he
is
extended, so he signed on to a 2 year extension. Is the other part there? Hey,
who
with the
signed an
Warriors,
extension.
Jimmy Butler has agreed to a new two
Oh,
year,
that
one
makes me
hundred and
feel
twenty
worse for
one.
the Warriors.
So through the 26, 27 seasons, and That's
I
how I
do
think
think
Utah,
KD's going
Toronto.
somewhere. I don't know where. And as for the sham stress test thing, that was just a clever name that I threw on the podcast. So that's where that comes from. But do
Well,
I
he's
think KD,
nonstop, man. He probably hasn't slept. This trade line might break him. He might not survive.
Shams might be calling Woj back and telling him to get back to work pretty soon?
Hey, man,
But
Windy's
do
the
I
new Woj.
do I
Windy.
think
Let's do the fingers, but
it,
also bring in the W.
I don't know if I don't think KD would go to Miami at this point. And I don't know
No, I
where he's
heard.
going.
Yeah, I was thinking about Memphis, watching them play Toronto tonight. I was like, what would he look like in a Grizzlies uniform if they didn't have to send away any of the major pieces that they have because they have so many great young assets.
It depends what the Suns want for for KD, and more importantly, how many teams are in on KD. But remember, they only got to lunchtime to do it.
Yeah, and somebody might just take your lunch money. Man, Marcus Smart looked like he's working his way back into.
No, Durant hasn't gone to the Heat that I'm aware of. Not yet, anyways.
No,
I put
yeah,
nothing past Pat Riley, though. We
yeah,
got some
maybe.
crazy theories in the chat, man. What do you think?
I was thinking about Memphis still, and some of these guys about a KD deal, but I guess that's probably a chemistry they're not looking to shake up.
Oh no, I
What are
don't.
your thoughts on shaking
I
up of
think
like a
with
Houston, OKC, and Memphis are three teams I don't think you shake up. But if you were given the option, are you taking the KD call if you're one
no,
of those three?
no. At
Cool. I
36,
dig that. I think that's the turning of the tide then, right? Like that's the changing of the guard. If you're not taking Kevin Durant's call, that's a sign that the changing of the guard has happened in the NBA,
okay,
has
can
it
you
not?
run those three teams back at me? You said OKC.
Uh, OKC, Houston, Memphis.
No, I'm not ripping that core out for a 36-year-old who's great. Don't get me wrong, but there's not enough value long term to rip out the core of the team.
So let me throw this one then at you. This is unreported. I don't want anybody to think this has got any weight to it whatsoever because I'm just sort of bouncing off what you're saying there. I agree. What about the Nuggets? Michael Porter Jr. for KD. Are you taking that call?
If I'm Denver,
Hmm.
if I'm Denver, I take that call. The Boston
Big time,
Celtics
right?
are trading Jaden Springer and their 2030 second round pick to the Houston Rockets. So our boy Roy is reporting that Jaden Springer is going to Houston. Both teams are also exchanging heavily protected second rounders. What do you think about Houston bolstering their lineup ahead of the noon deadline?
Who did they just? Who was the guy they added?
Jaden Springer from the Boston Celtics.
I don't even know if I've seen him play.
Yeah.
Wouldn't be able to
Well,
give you an opinion on
that's the report that's happening at the moment. There,
it.
it's
Okay.
been a busy day. We've tackled the Jimmy Butler thing. Do we think
Well, I
KD's
don't
gonna
know.
go?
Let's go back to the Butler for a minute. What do you think of the fit? What do you think? Are they, if they add a center, would that complete a worthy Warriors squad, or
Uh,
what else do
I
they have
think
to do?
I think they're better than they were before Jimmy because Jimmy will scrap for a rebound and you might get an extra rebound or two, which gives you an extra possession. And with Steph's shooting ability, I really think that that could be a wonderful thing. That's just my opinion on it.
And their timelines, and yeah, yeah, I agree. I think it fits nicely. And Wiggins has always felt like an awkward fit in Golden State to some
Yeah,
extent, even though he's played a good role sometimes. I think he's been odd
I
man
think
out in a lot of
Wiggins has
ways.
spent, and I'll probably get crucified for this in the comments, but I think Wiggins has spent a lot of his career feeling like a spare part in a lot of places.
If you present yourself as a spare part, people will start to take you as a spare part. Remember that, kids.
I don't know. That's just the way I look at it.
Well,
I
it's
know
because
others have
he's
told.
never shown, I think, that he can be a full time anything else. Like he's shown flashes, but he's never shown like you could take that thing on the highway. It's like, oh no, it's always never quite fully there. So I think that's how he's kind of then been viewed and treated in accordance.
All right, here's the question, G. Do we want
Yo,
to tackle the hypothetical elephant in the room, or do we want to stick to actual trades that have happened? And by hypothetical
oh,
elephant, I mean Kevin Durant to da 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 the Dallas Mavericks. Do we want to touch on
well, I
that,
think
or
those are
do we want
too.
to stay?
I don't know. Those are too hypothetical. I think for it to be that interesting. So we could work with what we got and what teams are maybe looking culture slash um, like just strategy fit wise. Like for Sacramento, they're just building a new squad around this coach's vision of how they want to play, and he's got some just like veteran tradesmen guys that are playing decent. Like Levine's playing fine and up to his potential, and DeRozan playing to his potential, and
And
Sabonis is playing to his
they got
Valanciunas, and
Valanciunas today,
And
and
I love that. I love that. That's a two-peat. Like those are that's my maybe my favorite team that has just they're almost the Toronto of the West. Like ain't nobody sending too much love your way. You've got broken
no, the
parts. You've got
Middleton
spare
deal,
parts to work with.
The Middleton deal is done, Roy. So yeah, that's correct. The Middleton deal is
Mm.
done. So, but
Yeah.
yeah,
Oh, Kuzma. We'll see if there's any gas left
y-
in that tank. Yeah.
you're always the one on this podcast. This is why we work together so well, because you're always the one on the podcast saying team unity is more important or just as important as having superstar duos.
And I think those top three
I'm
teams in the
still a
West we're
Raptors
talking
fan.
about show that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there will be more moves and logical Raptors fanatic. That's for sure, and that's part of the reason why we're live tonight. We usually pre-record these, but with the trade deadline, we figured if anything happens, we'll be with you tonight to watch it go down. Isn't that right, G?
That's right, man. And Atlanta has to decide what they want to do here pretty quick. And Toronto, too. Like, there's some teams that are on the fringe of tanking. They're trying to decide if they need to tank or not, and if they'll do a
And
gentleman's tank or a,
and
or a righteous tank.
and in regards to what you called low stakes poker earlier, I
A little
dished you the
Brandon
news
Ingram,
that
yeah.
Brandon Ingram to either the Atlanta Hawks or the Raptors. Now, being talking about the Hawks just a minute ago, I'm going to ask you this question, G. Uh, does it depend on the Hawks getting Brandon Ingram? Does that determine which way they go, depending on whether they get him or not?
The
If they
only
get
thing I
him, they're
know
going to
about
make
the
a.
Hawk, yeah.
Huh?
Well, I think, yeah, the biggest thing is their draft pick, and I don't know the detail on it, but I think if they place, like, they have a protected pick, but if they get too high in the standings, they'll lose the pick. So I can't. They're in that Dallas Mavericks situation from 2 years ago, where they're going to have a choice to make. Do they tank it at the end to make sure they keep their pick, or do they just say F it and price of doing business and play to have develop a culture? And I think they have a team that wants to play to win. With Trae Young tonight, just looking, didn't pull it off, but he just looked so focused for who that guy is and his talent level. He looked just professional, focused,
Wow,
and
and I got to say, you've been
you
pretty
know,
hard on Trey in the past. So,
and hey, he's shown that people can change by putting in the work and taking their job seriously, and he's done it, man. He's averaging the
And that's what
highest
the
assists in
Mavs
the
will
league.
regret. And that's what the Mavs will regret because Luka's going to put in the work now.
Yeah, do not get me going. Do not get me going. Yeah. So I don't know what the Hawks will do, man. If I were a betting man, somebody in ownership's going to find a way to make sure they keep their pick, which means I don't think they're getting into Ingram, especially with the injury that they had there, and they're just going to have to play with what they've got, and ownership will be sellers rather than buyers, which puts the Raptors up against it again, where it's like they're pretty good position to continue the tank unless they upgrade for some
Yeah, but
reason
the last
and
time
keep
we said that
their
they went and got
assets.
Jakob Poeltl.
This is it. They're sort of dipping into the doubling down territory with Bruce Brown on an expiring and a few other guys, but Masai's got some decisions, I think. Otherwise, it'll be an awkward, just more guys out the door for nothing situation. It's Raptors fans. I'm with you. There's some good moments and some bad moments, but we'll see what happens. We got, yeah.
I don't know, man. That news could come at any moment. Really? I'm assuming. But
No,
let's stick
I'm
to.
interested that the Timberwolves haven't made any moves. I'd say watch out for the Timberwolves too.
Have they lost faith? Have the Timberwolves lost faith? Have they looked at
I
the
think,
roster and Rudy Gobert and Anthony
or
Edwards
have
and
they
said,
looked
you
at the
know what?
captain of the ship? Exactly. It's a Lucas situation, if I'm being honest, man. It's like, ooh, he's got another couple years to show that he can take it fully seriously because he's just a otherworldly athlete and talent and those things. But his attitude's similar of like acting like the king without having won anything. It's it's a syndrome in the NBA, and
Yeah, but the difference is Luka got you there at least. The
yeah, but
difference
he,
between
you know,
Luka.
under the biggest lights, it wasn't a pretty sight when he collapsed and then just, you know, crapped the bed and blamed the refs and blamed his team and just, you know, was out of shape and did, you know, it was just an ugly look. Whereas Edwards, it was more just like, you just need to get better at basketball, man. Or you're just not playing maturely. And Luca, it's fixable, more easily fixable problems. And I think that was the difference.
Don't worry, Luka. I'll
That,
clip this
yeah,
for you so you can remind you what he said prior to the
and
trade
we'll take
deadline when you're a
at
champion,
least
buddy.
somebody took the bet. Yeah, and player empowerment finally having its limits of assuming that you can get a contract no matter what.
No, this is one that's really stuck in your craw for a long time. What is your
It's not
issue
just
with
me
player
though.
empowerment?
Well, because it gets taken into further than that, and it's like, no, you're still a teammate and a business person, and to suddenly think that you're above everybody else that's working for a living, including the coaches, the staff, the all these things, and start acting like you're, you know, I don't need to show up for tape, or I don't need to show up for nutrition class. I don't need to show up for any of these things. I'm Embiid. It's king's privilege. I don't think so. And I think the contracts that came with it promoted that. It's like, oh, you can just get a 5-year contract, hold the team hostage, and not live up to your price because what's the consequence if you don't? Nothing.
Same as every other mismanaged team in the NBA.
Yeah, and I think it's the team being held hostage because you're trying to get good talent, but they're like, you know, I'll sign for nothing less than 5 years, 250. Yeah, jeez. Hope this guy has a good attitude and wants to keep getting better because that's a big commitment. And if he's got a crap
But
attitude,
that's hard. That's hard to deny because we just gave Quigley 5 years, 130.
and here's what I've heard
So
about that guy's attitude is that he's like a spiritual warlock in the in the locker room that he's everybody's best guy. He's uplifting everybody in the organization. Apparently, like he's a church on Sunday dude. He's a let me help your grandma in her bags type of guy. So they've invested in that aspect as well.
I
And I've
want to
listened
take
to the
a moment to acknowledge, the logical Raptor fanatic here, because he seems to agree with you. He says habits make champions. Day to day matters, which is, I think, what you're trying to get across here. And
yeah, I agree. I
Quigley
totally
has
agree,
the
man.
skill. Unlucky this year. Well, we have a Quigley believer. I'm not so sold on Quigley. I hope, but like I always say on this podcast, I hope I'm wrong. I want Quigley and RJ to do well, and I want Kelly Olynyk to finally be what Kelly Olynyk has always supposed to have been. He
Ah,
just
he's a
never seems
gangster,
to get
man.
there.
I think
Huh?
he's maxed out his potential for a dude from Kamloops that didn't play prep school his whole life and stuff. I think he's maxed out what he's got.
No,
he's
he was
played.
always supposed. Yeah, I'll give you that one. Maybe I was reaching on Olynyk. Maybe I just
I
wanted
mean,
to
I
see
love
him.
that you've got. Yeah, I love that you've got a vision of him of even greater heights. I love that. I just think he's done real good for what he's.
But I thought RJ would have been better. I was high on RJ when the Knicks drafted him. You know,
He's looked better as a Raptor than he did a Nick. We can say that. That's for
I
sure.
always said I always said RJ should have been the first pick in that draft, and I would have been crucified if I'd said that when that draft actually occurred. But I'm saying it now. I think RJ should have been the first pick in that draft. I think he's one of the best players in that draft. Canadian
Yeah, and I
Jordan
think they're.
Israel, there you go. I believe that's in reference to my Kelly Olynyk comment not that long ago. But
Awesome,
we're here,
awesome.
we're live in case anything happens. We're having
Hmm.
a discussion, and it's a good one because it's the night before the deadline, and I don't think we're done, which is why suggested we go live because I
Hmm.
didn't
Hmm.
want this to be a situation where we're halfway through the pod and then something happens. We're scrambling to get the pod out like 30 minutes
No, we
after
have
it's
enough
done.
issues with tech. We don't need any more tech issues.
Oh yeah, we're not tech wizards by any stretch of the imagination.
But
But
I think the
again,
Raptors are doing the right things.
Jimmy
Mm,
Butler to the Warriors, Kuzma to the Bucks. Can I ask you a
yeah,
question about the Bucks? What is the
yeah.
because I personally, this is me. If anybody comes at this opinion, this is me. I don't personally see that much of a difference at 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 Middleton's age and Kuzma's skill. I don't see that much of a difference between the two. So tell me, what is the benefit to bringing in Kyle Kuzma?
One has a higher potential for bouncing back. Let's imagine it as like something as simple as like a rubber band. Chris Middleton's is just more worn, and it's not likely to have as much bounce back ever. And Kyle Kuzma's still pretty young. That if he were to have a changed culture and system and play a role, we'll see. But he's got more potential that way. Whereas Middleton, everything is slowly going down, right? So if it's not good enough now, it's not going to get better. And I think that's the difference, right?
See, and
And
my
it's not
thing
against
is,
him as a person. That's just father time.
I've always said this as a Laker fan. Kuzma can shoot you into a game, but he can also shoot you out of a game, and
I'd
that's
love to
kind
see
of the
him get
catch
some
22.
relevancy.
That's the catch 22 I've always had with Kyle Kuzma. Yes, he will be the guy that shoots you into games, but he'll also take you out of games. And with the Bucks and the great Doc Rivers, I'll put that in quotation.
Mm.
The great Doc Rivers, as their head coach, can they afford a guy that shoots them out of games?
I think they'll take anything they can get, unfortunately, at this point. I mean that with due respect, in the sense that he's an interesting piece that is going to be kind of untested, kind of like Valanciunas in Sacramento, where it's like he's a pretty serviceable big, but he hasn't played in a competitive atmosphere for quite some time. So it's super exciting to see how he'll do with that, whether it'll be good or bad or transition time. But I also watched San Antonio tonight against the Hawks, and I got to see Fox and the new Wemby combo. And man, it looked pretty good. It looked pretty good. Wemby actually chess moved the whole Hawks team at the end of the game there. It was down or up one on the Hawks, and he intentionally missed it at the last one, knowing they didn't have any timeouts left because
That's
they
right.
challenged the
Uh,
last play, and it was a win, just like bang bang,
to
no
again
shots
shout out
fired.
the logical
Yeah,
to again shout out the logical Raptors fan. He says this time JV is a complimentary piece because you also got to remember they got Sabonis over there in Sacramento as well.
they
So
speak. Yeah, man.
Sacramento's quietly put together a squad with DeRozan and Valanciunas and Levine and Sabonis. If they
And
get in, they
Malik
can do
Monk.
some damage. Huh?
And Malik Monk. He's a
And Malik
interesting
Monk.
classic. Yeah,
So if the Kings get in, they could do some damage.
they're my favorite. They're my pick for like the nobody has any hopes for you, just kind of irrelevant team. I'm seeing relevance for them this year. I think they'll be the Pacers of the West this year. Just surprise people. Are you expecting any other moves in the East that will shake up the night or shake up the league? I guess I should say.
No, but I'll tell a funny story while we're on the pod here. I was
Hmm.
going through my YouTube shorts yesterday, and you know how on Prize Picks they always give you the half a point square to give you like a free money basically. Well, the other night it was Tyrese Halliburton, and he didn't sink a single bucket.
That's that's the Halliburton I know.
Keegan Murray
There's
and Monk replaced Lonzo and Caruso. The-
going to. Oh, they're saying it's the Bulls in Sacramento edition.
Yeah, I like this Sacramento team better than I like the Bulls team.
Yeah, and I
If
think
I'm
these
being
guys
honest.
have all been humbled and in some major way. Like it's near the end of the road for a lot of them, and humility is a powerful thing if they've used it the right way. And each of those guys has been humbled. Let's be honest,
Well,
from
maybe
where
I
they
do
were.
come from a place that keeps you humble. I say it every day.
It's a good one to remind every day, man. Absolutely, and I think that's some of
That-
the
That's
yeah.
my mantra. That is my mantra. Because, look, no matter what happens, I'm still just a human being. I mean, I don't
I,
look at it any other
Everybody
way
except
than that.
John Morant. I'm starting to think he's not human being. I was
Uh,
reviewing the footage
I,
from
I
tonight,
put
and I was
my
like, nah.
I put myself as that much smarter than Nico Harrison. I will say that on the podcast. I put myself that much smarter than Nico Harrison.
You're putting yourself on the line here, pal. Don't get me going. Here's where the
Nico
rubber hits the
already
road for me. Here's one thing I'll say that on this. When Luca was asked about the criticism of his, lack of being in shape and not playing defense and screaming at he goes, "I disagree. I don't have a problem with that.
he also
That's
said
the problem."
motivation.
Yeah, but he's
He
saying
also
I don't
said
have a problem with
motivation.
conditioning. Yeah, but he's talking about motivation because of the insults. He's not saying motivation because they're right. He's saying, "Oh no, you insulted me for no reason." No, there was a reason we insulted you. He's missing the reason, and that's the whole point. He keeps missing the reason. So we didn't
Yeah,
just
the
slap
other
you
team in on
for
that
nothing.
the other team in on that Ingram deal would be the Atlanta Hawks. So we'll see who comes away with it.
Cool, cool.
Who wins the prize of Brandon Ingram?
I'm curious who the Warriors are going to pick up to complete their team, and the Mavericks, if we're going into the hypotheticals for a minute here. I think that's a big question mark for those two because they have to do something, and Phoenix has to probably do something, right?
Well, the
Those
Lakers
three
need
teams.
a big. Well, I don't think the Lakers are
Do you,
done.
do you think the Lakers are trying to compete this year? Legitimately?
Yes. Straight
If
face,
let's
yes.
say they don't let's say they don't make a move, would you still say yes?
I would say yes. It would be harder. It would be harder to compete under those circumstances, but you don't bring in a guy who went to the NBA finals and pair him with an all-time legend like LeBron, not expecting ROI, return on investment. I
Yeah,
don't suspect the Lakers are done.
if
I
they're
could be
building for the
wrong.
future, though, I think it's going to be really hard for them to seriously make a go for right now and build for the future.
By the way,
They,
by the way, props to LeBron for because they asked him, "What do you think about them turning their attention to a 25-year-old instead of listening to a 40-year-old?" He said, "Why wouldn't they do that?" And they're like, "Do you have a problem with that?" He said, "If I had a problem with it, I would have took my no trade clause, waived it, and got up out of here."
I mean, LeBron has never been one to shy away
He's good
from
for a
playing with the
quote.
media, though. Yeah, and he always just loves effing with people. Like even if in the back of his or full front of his mind, if he's like, "No, f this, I am out of here," he still would have said that same thing. Like he's not just going to give them what he's honestly thinking, because that's not how the game works. And
My favorite
he
was
knows
last night. He
that.
looked
Yeah,
at Luca. He looked at Luca after an and one, and he says, "That's what we're gonna do, Luca. We're gonna feed each other all day long." And
I just don't know who's going to play defense.
I think the rest of the Western Conference needs to be afraid. Be afraid.
I think if I'm OKC in Memphis, I'm on the floor laughing, but that's just me.
Okay, okay, that's cool. But I again, like I said, I reserve the right to change
Yeah,
my opinion until the noon deadline passes tomorrow, because we don't know
yeah.
what everybody's gonna look like.
Yeah, I mean, Jackson Hayes could turn into something, or Austin Reeves perhaps could turn into something.
Hey, don't talk about Austin Reeves slander will not be tolerated on this podcast. Austin
I'm
Reeves
saying
has
he's their
had
best asset. He's their best
Austin
asset for
Reeves has
trading.
Austin Reeves has had a phenomenal season, and Austin Reeves slander will not be tolerated on
No,
this here
no, no
podcast.
slander no slander just for trade value. He's your top. He's never going to have higher value than right now. And he's pretty much a non-complementary piece to LeBron and Luca. You can't have a third slow outside perimeter dude that isn't going to be, you know, able to do the things that those two can't do. So who do you use that asset to upgrade your roster for the sake of the team, knowing that he is quality, but you've got two guys who pretty much do what he does, but they're much, much better. LeBron and Luca, right? No slander. That's just LeBron and Luca.
Okay, then here's my offer to the I believe it's the Indiana Pacers where Miles Turner is, am I not mistaken? I will give you our 2030 first round pick, whatever it is, Austin Reeves and Rui Hachimura for Miles Turner. I think that's fair.
That's a decent deal. That's a decent deal. And now I don't know the Pacers roster enough to know if that would be good for them or not. But as far as just talent and deal wise, that's a
That's
fair
the
deal.
deal I would put on the table.
I think
Indy
that
needs
gets
a
the
center
deal
back. We
done if
don't have
you're.
a center. You
Yeah,
want me
Indy
to
would
throw
need a center
Jackson
back.
Hayes?
Yeah,
You want me to throw Jackson Hayes in the deal instead of Rui Hachimura? That's fine.
but then you're still down a backup center, right? Who's going to be your backup, Koloko?
Well,
It's
I
not.
plan for
Yeah,
Miles Turner to see a lot of the floor. Essentially, is
but you're going to need a backup either way, right?
okay. I'll throw Koloko in the deal. That solves it. Then you
No,
have
no. I mean,
Jackson
you're
Hayes.
you're you're still gonna. Oh, you're keeping Jackson Hayes.
Yeah,
I see. I see. Well, I
I'll
don't
just
think
throw
Koloko
Koloko in
turns the
there
crank.
instead of Jackson Hayes.
He's not really even a serviceable backup center, though. He's third stringer, so that wouldn't really do it for me. Indy would yeah. I don't know if they would need that because Austin
Indy
Reeves.
needs a lot more than I'm offering them anyway. So what's the difference?
Well, yeah. Why would they get into a deal that's not really going to make them that much better? You know. I don't know. I think the Lakers are
I,
going to struggle to find another piece, and so are the Warriors and the Suns. Like they're all scrambling, right? And they're all trying to find that one piece that'll sort of like turn the tide for them and get the other ones to back
it's
off.
not
But
out there.
I would love to see. I'll tell you what, man. Markkinen to the Golden State Warriors for Kaminga would be my favorite sort of thing to happen for them. It gives you a little bit of future asset potential in Markkinen, and he's ready to go now. That or Vucevic, and that's just at least then you have a starting center. Right now, they don't really have one. Yeah, if I were the Lakers, I'd be thinking around the similar lines of like, how can I fill that role? Like that, they should have got Valanciunas, man. Like that would have been a totally easy one to grab there, and you let Sacramento get it. So Lakers are thin in the middle and really slow on the perimeter, so they're going to have to do something roster wise to compete.
Well, the thing is, who's going to score for the Mavericks?
And there's three or four guys there: Spencer Dinwiddie, AD, Kyrie, all pretty lethal.
The Lakers are not cooked. I'm telling you right now. That's the fact
Ah,
that
this guy
you're sitting here.
knows. This guy knows. Yeah, they're done like dinner. Ding, 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 ding.
Luca
It's like a easy bake
single-handedly just
oven.
about brought the Luca single-handedly brought the Mavericks to the Western Conference Finals.
Tell you what,
And
man,
now
you're
he's
about
got
to find out
LeBron.
how non single handedly that was. You know what I mean? You're going to see how strong that Mavs team actually was last year without him. Um, man, yeah, I think he needs help. And if he doesn't have help, he's a petulant child and he gets upset and he quits on his teammates. And how many times do you think LeBron will put up with that before he gives him the LeBron look that says, I'm the king. I'm the only one that gets to, not run back on defense and yell at refs. He's going to give him that look because you can't have two guys get burned. And if LeBron's tired and yelling at the ref and Luka does the same, he's eventually going to give him that look. And that's the look that sends LeBron packing because he's eventually going to just be like, yeah, what am I
I'm
doing here?
telling you this. I'm telling you, this Laker team is in a better spot than most people will give them credit for.
out of respect, I'm gonna just
Because
leave
you
it as
forget
who
you
knows,
also have
an
to stop
unknown.
us.
Yeah, but that's not nobody's questioning
And,
the offensive
and we
prowess of
and
those
we
guys.
and we've got
That
three
they are
guys. We've got three guys that
gigantic.
every night can put up 30
Yeah,
at
so,
least.
but that's not the thing that people are saying it up as an issue at all. Nobody's questioning that. They're saying on the other end, there's so much liability of missing pieces, both athletically and positionally, that in a serious competitive basketball overview, they don't have what it takes, despite having two transcendent offensive players. They need other things. Otherwise, basketball teams are just built better. No, you know. OKC is a great example of just having depth, really well built depth. And we'll see if they can flex it in the playoffs. I agree with you. Like who, all that depth can matter not if they can shrink in the biggest lights. But they're going to have a few goes at it here, and so is Memphis. And I think overall they're going to win a 7-game series over a team like the Lakers because of that depth and chemistry and just
I don't know.
overall
How often
energy.
has the depth won in the NBA? Other than the 2004 Pistons, how often has
Nuggets,
won in the NBA?
Raptors, Nuggets, Bucks, 2000 Lakers or whatever the bubble Lakers there.
The whole Lakers. I love how you.
The the no, I call that the bubblegum gangsters. That's what that is right there. The bubblegum
Trust me.
gangsters.
Trust me. Luca will have you singing "Do You Believe in Magic" by the end of the year. Trust me.
Yeah, because he's going to be in the Vegas thing doing his best Elvis impression. And just kind of that. He's got some work to do, man.
You're one of 5 people that believes that the Mavs won this trade. I just want to point that out.
Hey,
You're
man,
one of
it's not for
5 people.
nothing. It's sometimes though everybody is looking at what they want to see, and it takes sometimes a really harsh look at things to be like, hey, the elephant in the room to be named. And if you're not going to name it, that's your fine. You probably don't have any investment in it. But I understand if you're the Dallas Mavericks and you're deciding 350 mil or not 350 mil,
Yeah,
certain
logical
questions are going
Raptor
to come up.
fanatic. That's why I said 5 because I threw you in the group. Don't worry, I put you in the boat with Nico Harris, my buddy G, Skip Bayless, and there was one other guy that thought you won the trade. Uh,
I mean, if you enjoyed the thought of being held hostage by hey man, you've known it too, a diva that has an issue with that and refuses to deal with that. That's fine if you want to be held hostage by that. That's just not what I think of as a healthy organization or a good leader. And I think
no,
Nico
you know what a good
agrees,
leader does?
right?
You know what a good GM does? He maximizes his asset. Are you telling me that there
Dude,
are
I hate
28
the idea that you
undisputed?
have to go to a slave auction. Who ding 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 ding. Who's gonna give me more for this guy? Who's gonna give me more for this guy? How about no? I know who I want. I trust his personality. I trust his work ethic. I want that guy. I don't want to hear, oh God, who will
You,
give me more?
you
That's
want
a
the guy
that's
who doesn't touch a basketball
it's
for a
not
month.
cattle. They're not cattle, man. It's like they know what they want, and if you know what you want, why wouldn't you go get it? Why would you open up and it leaves room for players to influence the deals. If you start going to phone around, it gets out immediately to the Shams stress test, and suddenly KD can be like, I don't want to go there. I'm not going to sign there. Or AD could be like, nah, that's not in my plan, bro. I'm not going there. And suddenly the deal gets even more difficult. So I love that they did it without the
A
player
broken Kawhi did go to
influence.
LA, by the way.
But you know what
I
I mean
hate to
about
break it to you.
player influence? Player influence doesn't need to be the determining factor of a deal. How about we leave it to the managers to do manager deals, and they
Because
don't
you're
need to
not
advertise
smart.
it around, right? Huh?
Kawhi was broken the second he signed that deal with the Clippers. I hate to break it to you. He was broken. He is broken.
What are we talking about? I thought we were talking about.
Oh, I'm answering the logical Raptor fanatic over here.
Oh, 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 oh.
And when Luca gets his ring, Nico can celebrate in his office by crying.
Fantasy is fun. I'm not going to lie. Fantasy is fun. It's great when it's fantasy, but it takes a lot more than fantasy to put that ring on. And he acts like he's already wearing 5. And it's like that attitude ain't going to get you 1. Just go ask the other ones, Harden, Embiid, the same dude, same attitude, and they ain't got rings. It's like they're birds of a feather, brother.
They ain't Luca.
Dude, if his calf has been injured 4 times because of lack of conditioning, what do you think 2 years from now looks like?
2
Oh,
years from
miracle,
now.
miracle on 34th Street, right? He decides, you know what? Cue the montage music, guys. I'm going to get into shape. Da, 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 da. Luca starts smashing eggs in the morning, doing his thing, comes in looking ripped. That's never going to happen. And that's why they're like, see you later.
You know they
You
traded
know,
for a guy nicknamed Street Clothes, right? The other
who's,
half of this deal is named Street Clothes.
I'm sure he had a funny nickname when he was in elementary school too, but people change. You know what I mean? In if we're looking at the last 2 years, he's played 45 more games than Luca. So who's in street clothes? And why is that?
Yeah,
When he's 25, he's 25
Luca's
years old, and
25.
yeah, he shouldn't be in street clothes right now, but he is. Why? Because he wasn't in shape and he injured his hamstring or his calf. So I'm just like, I don't understand the fantasy of somebody that can't stay in shape to not injure themselves at 25 years old when there was 120 million on the line. You know, it's just not a good indication of faith. And people have unanimous faith. I'm like, that's why you're all getting fooled, is because everybody's believing the same lie. It's whatever you want it to be. He's he's amazing. He's king. Water into wine, baby. Water into wine.
Nico, you're 0-2 and you woke up below the playoff line tonight.
That's why he made the deal, because Luca has been MIA since Christmas. Why do you think the team's struggling? Because he wasn't in shape and injured his calf and he's just chilling.
He'll be back Saturday. I'm hearing reports he'll be back Saturday.
But it still doesn't get to the root of why wasn't he in shape so that injury didn't happen. They asked him to come in lighter. He didn't. He injured his calf because he wasn't lighter on it. It was like, that's not an issue for anybody except the ones that are paying him. And that's why I'm like, yeah, good. The ones that are
You
paying him
know,
actually have the responsibility of holding accountability. And if you don't have accountability, you just have fantasy.
you know what? He's 25, and what you're telling me is a lazy, out of shape Luca is a 28 point per game scorer for his
Telling you a guy
career.
with an attitude. Attitude. I'm not talking about just conditioning. I'm talking about the attitude that leads to you not being in condition is one of F you to my team and everybody else because I'm the king. I don't need to be in condition. It's the attitude that is not a winning attitude. I don't want to play on that team. I hate that guy. I don't want him to be my
Your best
leader.
player does set the bar. And to me, I think the
Yeah.
finals is a pretty good bar.
Hey man, wouldn't it have been awesome if he did what Dirk did when he lost in the finals and came in the best shape of his life the next season? Isn't that what Kobe did? He came in the best shape of his life the next year. What did Luca do? He came in the worst shape of his life. So that's the whole thing right there to me. How did you respond to failure? Oh, you got worse? Cool, bro.
And his numbers go up in the playoffs. They don't go down. They go up in the playoffs.
No, but what
So
happened, right? What happened after the thing? How did he respond to failure? How did Dirk respond to failure? They took completely different routes in terms of their approach attitude-wise to the next season. And I think for Dallas, they want to win right now. And if that's his attitude, it's not going to cut it, right? You need to be willing to sacrifice and get better so that we can get the title this year. It's what every other great has done is they come back with a chip on their shoulder and get better. He came in out of shape, got injured, and just sat down. It was a sad return from last season, and everybody was commenting on it. And then he got traded, and now suddenly he's the greatest thing next to man. Next
it
to
would be
whatever
like the
we're
Oilers.
into.
I go back to my old argument. This is like the Oilers trading Connor McDavid. It would never happen.
Because Connor's a good dude. He's a good leader.
Speaking of which, the Oilers have now scored tonight again. It's 2-1. But we're focusing on hoops. And the hoop thing, I'm telling you, there are certain players you just don't trade, man.
Well, that's what he assumed, and that's why his attitude was so unbearable. Because he knew that. He knew that in the fiber of his being that he was untradeable, and so he acted like it. And what leader do you love that acts like that? I don't. I like the guys that earn it, that walk the walk, not the ones that just go, I'm untradeable. Like that's ugh. Why would that be your guy?
Why would that be my guy?
Yeah, somebody that's
Okay,
just pure
because
talent and all bad attitude. Like there's been plenty of amazingly talented, transcendent guys, but if they don't have the attitude, they eventually dissolve into irrelevance. Carmelo Anthony, James Harden, the list is real, and he will be a part of it. Yeah, it's just what it is, man.
all right. Speaking of working yourself into irrelevancy,
Look at
they're
I
not.
mean, Harden never
See,
reached his potential.
logical Raptors
Right?
fanatic is totally on your side here. I disagree wholeheartedly.
Because he's got logic. He's using the same thing I am. It's just logic, man. It's cold cut, no emotion. It's just real.
Oh wait, we got a TSN notification on my phone. I'm just gonna check this real quick here. Shea has 46 in the fourth quarter tonight for the Oklahoma City Thunder, and they're still playing. TSN
Oh,
just had to let me know that.
might have to throw that on here in the background because that's the Phoenix Suns one, right?
That's a career high against the Phoenix Suns and Kevin Durant. So there you go. There's
Here's
an update.
so here's something. So I'm not just a hater, man. I love the way that Shea plays. I love the way his attitude is. I love the way he carries. Like everything about him would say that's my guy. That's untradeable. That's the dude I will build a statue myself with, because he's giving everything and he's asking nothing in return, and he just goes and goes. And if he could do
In an
more, he'll ask
ideal
how.
world, you'd be
You
like,
know what I mean?
hold on. Rolla, do you have information on that Brandon Ingram trade? Where did he go? Was it Atlanta or Toronto? If you can find out, let me know. But I love
Ooh,
the
50
guys you're talking.
points. 50 points. There it is. Third 50-point game this season from Mr. Shea. So,
Breaking: the
in a
Pelicans are
7-game,
trading Brandon Ingram to the
ooh,
Raptors for Bruce Brown, Kelly Olynyk, and one first round pick and one second rounder via Shams.
Hold on. Can we get a number on the sham stress test there, Mo? What was that one there? What number on the sham scale was that?
That was about a 2. That wasn't a very stressful trade. Ingram
Man,
for Brown,
I've been
Olenek.
waiting. Yeah,
Huh?
I've been
Am I
waiting to
wrong?
see.
That's only a 2, right?
Oh yeah, it's. But I mean, we've been waiting to see what would happen with Bruce Brown for about a year and a half. So in that sense, it's like, whoa, that's big. Finally, yeah, cool, cool.
Raptors
I
have a.
don't hate it.
See, this is the most Raptor thing to do. We're in the middle of a
It's a
rebuild, and
rental.
we're gonna go out and get better. I don't like the way the Raptors do business.
Hold on, let me pitch it this way though to you is maybe it's not for this year, it's more about let's see if he's a fit culturally with our guys and then also like basketball wise, chemistry wise. And if he's a good fit, let's sign him to a bigger deal and kind of shuffle our
See,
pieces a bit.
they should have done that with Barrett and Quigley first before any. They gave them the money instantly. They did it backwards.
Yeah. But with Olenek and Brown off the books, they could sign Ingram to a multi-year. He's not going to be super expensive, so they'll get probably a decent deal on him, depending how he is. And if he's no good, well, they can just let it expire and no real major loss. You got a good trial run with a guy that could be freaking a great piece if he's been slept on and he's just had a bad time in New Orleans, right? Fresh start could be good juice for people. That's maybe the most exciting thing about the trade deadline. Fresh starts, right?
Let me put it. Let me just give a shout out. One more shout out to Logical Raptors fan here. I love your insight. I just think when it comes to a play, I've often said this before. When it comes to a player like Luca, you take the deal and you figure out the rest later.
But what if he refuses to figure out? It's like, what if you can't
No,
negotiate?
no, you as an organization figure the rest out later.
Yeah, but what if it's like you can't figure this out because he just tells you over and over again the same thing. And you're like, no, we need you to do this thing. And it's like, we can't spend the next 10 years asking you the same thing and you giving us the same answer. That would be the definition of insanity. So they had to decide, do we
So
stop
your
asking him the question?
so your theory is let's make the biggest move in franchise history and hope it works out. Because if it doesn't, I'm going to be fired anyway. I'd rather take my chances doing that than have a transcendent 25-year-old player who's 5-time All NBA player.
I know who
Who's
the positive side of him is. But are you willing to acknowledge the negative side?
I have, but even and this was an interesting quote that I heard on ESPN today. Even with Luca's deficiencies, the Mavericks were still eighth in the league in defense. So
He
if you
hasn't
put
played
the
this year.
pieces,
He hasn't played this year. That's not his numbers.
if you haven't, if you have the pieces around Luca to let Luca be Luca, it, it, and you're putting Luca with an
There's
all-time
enough,
great
but
like
that's
LeBron.
what that was the stress test of sorts. This in the finals was like, hey man, if the only missing piece might have been him being in shape, and if he wasn't willing to do that, what else can you do? You can't do that for him. He has to do that. If you've done everything else you can, and that's the one thing holding this dude back from greatness, why are you the one to hold the bag while he decides that he doesn't want greatness? I don't understand why I just have to hold the bag because he could be greatness, even though he continually refuses to not be. It's like, oh, well, you just wait that out. Just ride that out. He'll get there. It's like,
I just hope Nico realizes the seismic activity of this move he just pulled.
how could he not? right? He's willing to do a cojones deal of all deals that is principle based. It's not money as the exclusive
It's
force, although
not
I'm sure it was a
basketball
big
smart
force.
either.
I don't know, man. If we're talking about the deeper layers of basketball that we always talk about, of chemistry and inspiration from your leaders, that matters when it comes down to those difficult moments. Those things matter, and if it's not being taken into a value, and those things are just being tossed aside as not that important, because he can score on Rudy Gobert on one, it's like I'm gonna need more. And I think that's what they're saying is like, hey, the Showtime Luka's cool. We want a championship Luka. Here's what it'll take. We're willing to give you anything you want if you can do this one thing. Get into championship shape and show us you're serious. And he did this. And power to him, because like you said, that's your right. That's your right. But in my mind, if I'm Nico, I take those two fingers and break them and say, get the hell out of my house.
Uh, I'd like to remind Nico you're paying rent on that house. You don't own the house, and you may not be there for much longer if this goes sideways.
Yeah, but you're doing the best you can to be the manager, and this dude's being the most everything he can to not be the best he can be, right? Because he's refusing to do the one thing. Like, you're doing everything. You're pulling in players from left and right. You're pulling in trainers. You're pulling in everything you can to make the team better. And you asked him to do the one thing, and he's like, "No, I don't change. You get what you get." That's not my leader. As simple as that.
And you're willing to sacrifice your job/career for that?
Every time, every time, because to not would to be go against everything I stood for. And I'm not living
Okay.
with that, right? I'll live with somebody having a spiritual awakening and deciding that they're going to act like an adult for $350 million. Then power to them, but I'm going to sleep well either way, knowing that I stuck to my principles over what I think I should do, because how embarrassing it would be if I was wrong. No, I'll go with the principles that got me here if I'm him. And he didn't get there by just kissing the ring and doing like the right whatever move the whole way up. He's had to make tough decisions at certain points in his life, so he has to trust those instincts. Otherwise, again, he's going against everything that's got him there. And
All right.
AD is
Anyway,
playing, like I
let's
said, quite
let
well,
let's
quite
play
well.
let's play this from the AD angle because we've done the Luca thing to death, and we'll just go in circles eventually. So, how do you think AD is going to impact this ball club?
Well, so far, when I looked at his season last year, man, 76 games played. His numbers maybe best of his career. This season, he's only missed 2 to 3 games, I think. And it's just been the most recent ones. And his numbers are, again, as strong as they've ever been, if not stronger, across the board. So the way he affects it is pretty seismic, man. You're losing your liability on defense, and you're adding one of the best in the game at it. So that shifts your dynamic as a team, no matter what, for the positive. That's math. That's mathing. What you lose offensively, it's
Which
not
is a lot.
it's not a seismic of the difference of what you're gaining defensively, because he's not a 15-20 point a game scorer. He can be a 30 point a night, no problem. AD. So it's not seismic loss of offense, but it is a seismic gain in defense and professionalism and attitude and overall maturity. And I think that's what they're looking for, is that capital M maturity. And he's,
Mature.
like it or not, he's old. That 6 years works in his favor for experience of being mature. For Luca, it works being 6 years younger for the future of having unwritten that you can change, that you can get more adult like. But
Okay,
AD, he's already there, right? He's there.
here's a point that, based on your logic, here's a point that works in my favor. Luca gets to go sit under that same learning tree that AD sat under. And a lot of the
Hopefully,
complaints about
hopefully.
Luca you heard about AD. So if he's going to sit under the same learning tree,
Again, the
there's a
fantasy
chance
continues. Yeah.
this could be a massive disaster for everybody
But
involved.
that learning tree was planted there, but with Dirk Nowitzki in Dallas, he wasn't interested in learning. They brought in Kyrie Irving. He wasn't interested in learning. It's so this learning tree's the one. Okay,
All I'm
what's
saying
what's what's
is
wrong with the Dirk learning tree, huh? Nothing, nothing.
all I'm saying is he's
Don't.
sitting under
There
that
will be no
same
Dirk
learning.
slander. There will be no Dirk slander on this
I'm not
podcast.
slandering Dirk. I didn't bring up Dirk's name not once. But you know who I'm gonna
Honest,
slander? I'm gonna slander the Golden State
hmm,
Warriors. You know why I'm gonna slander the Golden State Warriors? Because they lost to the Utah Jazz.
it's a stressful day for them. Yeah. They're scrambling. I think everybody in that locker room is probably having their heads elsewhere right now. No excuse. You're a professional. You got to show up and do your best. But I could understand why there would be a disruption in the force. Yeah,
And you know the Mavs got the defending champs tomorrow night as well. So they could be
yeah.
0 and
Imagine
3.
everything's still pretty. Yeah, and I think that's part of the whole thing of when you change a team up that significantly,
The Lakers are
everything's
1 and 0
gonna.
since they acquired Luca. I don't know what you're talking about. This is normal for you to go on a losing streak.
Saying there's a possibility that sometimes when there's big change, that sometimes it hits the organization. Sometimes, not always, but sometimes.
I'm
Sometimes you
I'm
got
just
LeBron
I'm just
playing LeBron,
on that one. I'm just busting because I'm gonna pick on Nico every
Right?
chance I get.
They came out and smoked them Clippers at home in their own home, and I think that was just always a reminder that LeBron can do this. Can he do it 82 plus every playoff game is the biggest question for them. And with Luca now, I guess that becomes that like excitement
But
around him not having to do those things.
but
But
the thing is,
again, the
LeBron
same
doesn't have to do it.
criticisms are
The thing is now Luca doesn't
those aren't
or
the
LeBron
concerns
doesn't
though.
have to do it 82 games
But
because he's got Luca there and he's got Austin who's
but
capable
it,
of 30.
yeah, but that was not their biggest weakness, right? Like, and losing AD for the defense is just it's massive. And they got to do something. And with the
Yeah, I
perimeter D,
personally
as
hope
much as
AD.
AR-15 is good, he needs to have fast guys on court so he can be the slow one that's not on the fastest guys, right? But when Luca and LeBron are his running mates, he suddenly has to be the one on the fastest dudes or the fastest this, and that's not good for AR.
I hope Anthony Davis plays tomorrow night because they're gonna need him against the world champions. I don't know what
Yeah,
his status
Boston's
is for
looking.
tomorrow night.
I think they said maybe, but more likely,
More than likely not.
or maybe they said that. Yeah, I can't remember what the report was, to be honest. There's so much going on.
Well, there's so
And
much going on. We've had another deal involving Brandon Ingram.
so let's break down that starting five right quick.
Which
Jakob
starting
Pertl,
five?
Raptors.
Yes, okay. Jakob Pertl,
Scotty Barnes,
Scotty Barnes,
Brandon Ingram,
Brandon Ingram,
Quickly, and
and
Barrett.
Barrett.
And then coming off the bench, you got Grady Dick, Davion Mitchell, and
Oh
some
my goodness.
dudes.
Yeah, Luca could debut Saturday, so I don't think he's coming out tomorrow. But let's see what they say about AD while we're on the air here. Or yeah, okay. So we'll go to the Dallas Mavericks, and we'll see.
OKC just thumped the Suns tonight, hey?
Hmm?
133-99.
Yeah.
OKC versus the Suns. Yeah.
So Anthony Davis is officially listed as questionable for Thursday night.
Hmm.
So it looks like they'll both return this weekend. Anthony Davis.
Honestly, I hope that they both thrive. It'd be good for the NBA, it'd be good for their careers, it'd be good for everything, right? So I just hope they both, yeah, get to really
Yeah,
modify their games in ways that,
I'm not rooting
yeah,
against either one because I know AD can be a monster in that paint.
yeah. And with Kyrie and that team built the way it's built, it's quality pieces that got to the Western Conference Finals and are competitive as hell. So I think if they were, yeah, I think, and the Lakers, they've got the two ultimate Joker combo. Not that Joker, but having Luca and LeBron is sort of the ultimate. Like, well, if we need a bucket right now, I guess we could probably just give it to that guy. Like, those are pretty much the top two. So it's like, yeah, you could almost maybe shoot 60% from field goal for a game with those two on your team. Like, it's ridiculous, but the defensive side of things is just a reality that's going to be difficult for them to
Here's the
coach
thing I
against
couldn't
and
figure out,
train
and maybe you can explain this to me. Why is the Laker game at 1 o'clock on a Saturday afternoon? Wouldn't you, as a league, wouldn't you put Luka Doncic's debut on at 5:30 on ABC in prime time? Wouldn't that be the
against.
logical move?
Maybe they'll change it, right? Sometimes, excuse me, they do that last minute.
I don't know, I just find it weird that the Lakers game is at 1 o'clock on a Saturday afternoon.
Hmm. Let me ask you this on a tangent. Do you have a dude of the week or anything just non-trade related that you want to throw out there as we're rounding out tonight?
Do I have a dude? This is gonna be the most boring pick in the world because it's gonna be Shea. I gotta give it to Shea. He's so good. Like
Sometimes you just got to put the respect on the name where it is due,
sometimes you just gotta put the respect on the name. And I know it
man.
comes across like, you know, this, that, and the other thing, but at the end of the day, if you're asking me for a dude of the week,
He's the
and if you're
baddest man,
asking
Gemma.
and if you're asking me who's the luckiest dude of the week, and this is trade related, Victor Wembanyama got his Christmas gift a little bit way early or a little bit late, however you want to look at it, because him and De'Aaron Fox are going to be something special.
And
But my
again,
dude of the week is SGA.
yeah, speaking to the chemistry side of things, I think the Wembanyama Fox thing is going like long term. Those guys are gonna, yeah, try to do something special
Well,
together.
that's what
You
I
know,
hope people understand. Like when I'm making fun of the Dallas Mavericks, it's partially because my brother's a Mavericks fan. They're 0-2. They
beer.
lost Luca, and I'm just having a ball with it. And if I get to pick on Nico Harris in the
The
intermediate
legend.
time,
You have to put
I'm
some
gonna
respect
do
on
it.
that name too.
He's a legend
Fair,
for
fair,
having the
fair.
cojones to make the deal.
I think that's the biggest takeaway, maybe to meet in the middle for all things. I think everybody can agree. Them some cojones.
That took That's why I said, like, people think I'm a Nico hater. I'm really not. I'm just surprised he made the deal. And honestly,
Hmm.
and I told you this when we were off air as well, I respect the heck out of Nico Harrison for making this deal, because I guarantee you there are at least 25 other GMs who don't make this deal under any circumstance.
And yeah, probably. Yeah, no, I think
And it
there's
might
something
be
to be
all
said for that.
29 other GMs.
I mean, depending what the deal was. Or you're saying for the specific same deal, if they were just switching
Yeah,
places with the
for this
Nico.
specific deal,
But
there's
you'd
at
have to,
least
but
25.
that's no doubt. I actually would agree with that. But here's the last, or the kicker I'd put on that is you have to then also force them to spend 8 years with Luca every single day before they make that decision.
Luca's not a bad dude.
No, but that's all I'm saying is they have about the same knowledge as we do. But if you were to put in what Nico knows, that's fair then to say, okay, then what would you do? Because you could say from outside, everything's just percentages and NBA 2K stats, right? But if you look into the personality and chemistry of who this person is, because they're human, man, you have to spend time with them. And this dude spent the most time with him out of anybody. And this was the decision he came to. So of course 29 people would say, I'll do the deal, but they haven't had to spend 8 years with this guy. So if they did, would they all have the same answer? Probably not. They'd probably actually go more on the Nico side, is my guess, because they would have come to the same conclusion. Oh my God, this dude won't listen. How do you not listen? This is insane.
I'm
There's
gonna
no
stand
amount of
on
money
business.
that's worth this.
I'm gonna stand on business for the former owner, Mark Cuban,
Loved
and
him. Yeah,
he's on
loved him.
record as saying, if you had a
You didn't
choice
have to coach him.
between if you had a choice between keeping Luca or divorcing your wife or trading Luca, he said, "I'll be divorced by tomorrow."
You know what the joke is? He's not married.
Yeah, but he said,
When the
matter of
stakes
fact,
are no, I'm joking. I don't know. I don't know.
he is married, by the way. He's Mark Cuban. He's probably got an
Have you met his
airtight
wife?
peanut.
Mm-mm.
Huh?
Yeah, no. He's just trying to look. He's just trying to get a divorce. No, he wants out of that. No, I have no idea. I understand. I understand the sentiment of what you're saying. Of like, he was people's favorite player to ever play basketball, type of thing. He was the thing, but none of those
The
people were
people in
invested in
Dallas
the
are
business side.
dry.
None of those are the people that were invested in the day to day. Can we get this asset better, and can we get this team better with this? Those guys are fans. Everybody else that you're talking about is just fans on the outside. They're like, hey man, do your thing. But when you're in the business side and you're having to make critical decisions about $350 million, you have to look into that man's eyes and trust him that you want to give him that money, not just because you have to. And if you felt like you had to more than you wanted to,
You've seen the Nico and J Kid press conference, right?
yeah.
J Kid, did he look thrilled?
Again, we could put our own thoughts on that pretty easy
No,
of
no.
just inferring.
I'm just asking the
Well,
question,
is he
brother. Did
supposed
he
to be?
look
Is he
thrilled?
supposed to be eating ice cream, partying? Like he had a backwards hat on. What else do you want? That's about as happy a J Kid as you're gonna get.
You had a sour look on your face as you could ever have.
That's his. It's his look. He's always the same, man. He looked this. I think there's nothing to that. It was a serious press conference. It's not supposed to be a light, fun joke time. They're supposed to say, "This is why we gave away the transcendent talent." It's going to be
He,
serious.
he also said nobody wants to hear about my scratches, Nico. You start talking. I'm
Yeah, because that was
paraphrasing, but
typical.
that's what he said.
Yeah, because that was the time that he would normally just do the once over with
I'm
the
paraphrasing, but
media.
that's what he said. He said nobody
Yeah, they
wants to
used the
hear about me
scrum.
telling you who's not playing. Get the
Yeah,
talking, Nico, is basically what I heard.
yeah, and props to Nico for actually for going down to the coach's scrum and taking a lead on answering questions he knew were going to be sailed at Jason Kidd and weren't going to be about the scratches. So he stepped in front like you should, to them, to the person that made the decision. And he made that clear. He's like, J Kidd had nothing to do with this. This is me. This is me with the culture in my hand, them trusting me to know the culture, to make decisions that are best for that culture. So if they trust him to know the culture, and I think he does.
I will respect him for that. He didn't throw J Kidd under the bus. He never once said this is mine and J Kidd's call. He's like, this is
And
me.
ultra
And this
respect the whole
grumpus
way through it, and never once
and
said a
this
bad word about Luca. Like he just said,
he
it wasn't a
did.
good. It wasn't a. No, he said it wasn't a better or worse thing. He
Laughed
said it
out of
was just.
shape.
That's all hearsay from media stuff. When he was on the press conference, he didn't say a word of that. He said it was a culture thing of just different ways people add to a culture. And we wanted to add that aspect of defense and da da da. So he had such a respectful way of going about it, not like, well, we just didn't see what we no, he went with the positive of like, oh, there was nothing wrong with him. It's that we just wanted something different, right? So it's like whether it's real or not, it was a respectful way of handling your business, I think, for the most part. New York Knicks sometimes just hide
I did
away, or
appreciate
yeah.
Luka giving us the LA sign as he's stepping off the plane, though. I did appreciate that. So
What do you
Luka,
think
I
about
got
this one? What do you think about this little quote that Luca had during his press conference? Oh, I knew this was going to happen someday, or I knew this was always going to happen someday.
he just closed on a house for $12 million. What do you mean you knew this was gonna happen?
Well,
You don't buy a house
exactly.
if you're expecting to get traded 12 days later.
What? Why would he say, I knew this would happen someday, if you expected to stay there your whole career? Unless you had some sort of secret plan to go to LA or something,
I
like
want to
acting
see
like a
that. Can you
total,
pull that? Can you pull that quote up? Do you have it
yeah,
with you?
I'll find out. Because Vince Carter commented on it last night on TNT. Vince
Oh,
Carter's like,
let's
did
all
you hear
take
that?
Vince Carter's word for it. Because Vince doesn't have a history of quitting on nobody, does he?
No, no, I'm just saying we were watching the Luca press thing and he noticed that comment as well. And so he just said to the panel, did you guys notice that comment? And they're like, yeah, that's weird. And he goes, yeah, that is weird. It's a weird comment if you're on one hand saying, I never thought I'd leave. And then a few minutes later, well, I knew this was going to happen someday. Or, like, wait, what? That's not an English thing. That's maybe a mixed message thing. Like,
I want to hear that from Luca. I'm going to look that up because I don't.
you could, and maybe, I'll give him benefit of the doubt. Maybe it was just a language barrier thing. And he didn't mean that message and what he said. Maybe he meant something totally different, kind of like the Goran Dragic thing, where something just got kind of blown out of proportion on the language barrier. So I'll give him benefit of the doubt, but I think there's an aspect to Luca that wanted to be in somewhere other than Dallas. If there was a dream to come true, perhaps one day he would like that. And if he happened to make it unbearable, have you ever seen Seinfeld episode where George Costanza makes it so impossible you have to fire him? Like he's just making it so hard you have to
No,
fire him.
no offense, but the fact that you had to ask me if I've ever seen Seinfeld
No, no, sorry. This specific
is
episode that I'm
is
thinking
the
of.
word. I've seen
Maybe I
every
shouldn't be using
Seinfeld
that.
episode like
Yeah.
25 times. The fact that you
Okay, so you
thought
know
you'd have to
exactly what
ask
I'm
me,
talking about.
yeah.
Take it as a generalized comment, but um, yeah. Remember when that George has that scheme, and uh, I think Luca might have pulled one off. If that would be my most cynical take on the whole thing, is that he didn't get into shape because he didn't actually want them to offer that. He actually wanted to get out, and he knew that easiest way to do that is to be fired, right? Because otherwise, he can't say no to a supermax. Like nobody's allowed to say no to a $350 million deal and take
Oh, you're
like,
allowed. You're
but nobody would
allowed. You
do it.
just the laughing stock of the league.
Exactly. So if he didn't want to play for Dallas for the rest of his career and he didn't want to be the laughing stock for signing the thing, what's his other option? Danza. He Costanza'd it. Printed here.
He Costanza it. That might be the best quote ever on this podcast. He Costanza it.
Dude, call this one Vandalay Industries because it is a fake out of all fake
Can you
outs.
can you tell I love Seinfeld the show?
Just say Vandalay.
Let me be the
Oh,
architect.
man.
I can do it. That's probably how Nico got his job. Let me be the architect. I can do it.
Marine biologist, yeah.
Marine biologist. Yeah.
Is
How
anybody
did
here
we
a
get
marine
here?
biologist?
How did we get here, anyways?
The Luca thing of him secretly saying his plan out loud, where he goes, I knew I was going to be leaving someday, but forgetting that he was also trying to tell everybody, oh no, I was going to be here forever. Oh, I love Dallas. Dallas
Well,
the best.
he penned a nice message to the people of Dallas.
Oh man, I used to, see people write Chat GPT some pretty good stuff too, but whether he means it or not.
The people in Dallas are
See,
pissed, so I'm going to stand on business for them and say
okay,
that this
man,
isn't
you can't take away the love. The love that people have for him is real.
for everything that he meant to the city.
And
You couldn't at least call him and be like, "Hey, you're going to be a Laker." Does that the Los
because then
Angeles
it's
Lakers are changing? Wait, Rolla's got
oh,
another one.
hold on. Gotta hit
The
a. We
Lakers
should have
are
had a
trading
button.
Dalton Connect, Cam Reddish, and a 2031 unprotected first round pick in 2030 for Charlotte Hornets for center Mark Williams. We just got our
Who?
big
Who
Mark
the hell is
Williams
Mark
for Charlotte.
Williams? That doesn't sound like you
Wow.
got your big. Dude, I've never heard of this guy.
I don't care if you've never heard of him.
Have you?
But the
Oh,
Lakers have their
oh,
big.
he's a former Duke. Okay, I respect that.
So the Lakers were not done, and it
No,
didn't
I
cost
don't
them a
think.
heck of a lot.
I thought last podcast we were saying Dalton Connect with the answer, or just a real like dream piece and all of these amazing things.
He is. Charlotte was smart to take him. Cam
And so
Reddish I
yeah,
can do
you had
without.
to give up something significant, right?
Cam Reddish I can do without.
Yeah, I think that's about the consensus on him.
And the Oilers have won tonight, folks, in overtime. But the Lakers have a center. Jackson
A
Hayes is now
center.
your backup
Yeah.
center. And yeah.
Oh, it's something.
So they
It's a big.
well, you know what? Just because we're live and I'm gonna do this right now. I'm gonna go to the Charlotte Hornets and I'm gonna look up his stats.
Yeah, I'm looking at his stats here.
What do we got?
In the games that he's played, which isn't all of them.
Yeah, I like the way you put that, which isn't all of them.
Well, only yeah. So, he's only played about half the season. 22 games played. He's got some injury, something going on.
16 points per game, 16 and 10. That's not horrible.
I'm not going to rain on Craig because I don't really know much about him, and he was in a Duke jersey when I googled him. So I'm going to hold my opinion because I don't really
That's an
know
auto
anything.
double double.
But
That's an
here's
auto
the
double
just
double.
the just a bit of the wet blanket I'll salt in there because I have to balance the just fan optimism that is going on there. All right, but it's 22
16
games
and
worth of
10.
a double double with the Charlotte Hornets. LaMelo Ball's numbers are great. Why don't they matter?
First of all, LaMelo hasn't played in half a
What,
century.
what LaMelo? No, LaMelo Ball.
I know, that's what I said. LaMelo's been hurt for the last however long.
But
I
his
could be
numbers,
wrong.
right? Right. So his numbers as a Charlotte Hornet are unbelievably good. He's played 31 games this season. He's averaging 29, 5, and 7.
This is
Or
LaMelo
20.
that
Yeah.
we're talking about.
But there's a reason he's not on the All-Star team, even though he got the most votes out of any fan stuff and he's got killer numbers. It's because the numbers are inflated on a Charlotte Hornet blah. So I'm not saying he's not good because who knows? I'm just saying there's a bit more who knows in it because of it being Charlotte. So I don't think it's like you can take that as a guarantee, but I'm not saying it's a reason to just dismiss him. It's just to have uh,
I like this deal.
a bit of realism, just to see. It's like that's a let's see thing, because if he's great and over exceeds, then it's like, oh wow. But if it's not, then you just sent out one of your your youngest best piece and Max Christie, so you've lost your future two best things that you had. And so hopefully,
Oh, don't disrespect Austin Reeves like that.
no, those guys are rookies. Reeves is an old man compared to them.
Reeves is no man compared to that.
Yeah, no doubt, no
We
doubt. He's closer to my age than Max Christie and Dalton Connect. I'm pretty sure.
So the Lakers have a center.
Who we don't know much about. I'm curious. It could like you know what I mean. It
I
might
have
be
watched
the
Charlotte play. He's good.
when have you watched
No.
Charlotte play?
When have I watched Charlotte play? What do you think I do all day? I go to work. I
Not
come
watch the
home. I watch
Charlotte.
basketball.
No, you have pride. You're not sitting around watching the Charlotte Hornets. You don't hate yourself. You wouldn't just sit around watching the Charlotte Hornets. You like good
Anyway, Rolex,
basketball.
I
You wouldn't do
appreciate the
that to
scoop,
yourself.
bro. I appreciate the scoop, bro. I feel
No
even
doubt.
better about this than I did before. And you know what?
That's
February 25th, there's a Dallas Mavericks Los Angeles Laker game, and we can settle it on the court.
if it was any other team. Let's put your critical hat on, and it was a team that's desperate for something, and they got that. Would you be that stoked?
A double double to go with LeBron James and Luka Doncic.
A double double, maybe.
16 and 10 is a double double, so
Yeah, and LaMelo Ball is the fucking second best player in the Eastern Conference if we're just looking at numbers. But it doesn't tell the full story, does it? It's Snow White. No, I haven't got an analogy for that
Number
one.
one, I didn't say Mark Williams was the best anything. I just said he's a walking double double. That's all I said.
But I'm questioning that. I'm like, is it? Is he? We'll see. Because everybody on Charlotte has a bit of an asterisk next to the name because it's but
Well,
the
he's
team
gonna
they're
get a
on,
shot to prove it. We'll say
he
that.
gets a shot. Heck yeah, he gets a shot. And on no better team to get a shot. He looks athletic. He looks young, 23 years old. Maybe he's the backup center too, right? Maybe Jackson Hayes stays as the center, or maybe they're playing 5-4.
You realize the Lakers are 9-2 in their last 11, right?
Let's hang on before you run away with AD's influence on those games. So the with AD games, they're 9-11. We'll see over the next season how they do.
I'm sad to see Dalton go, but
It means they must believe in something with this Mark Williams guy, or they just really definitely need a big, and he's got the ingredients they're looking for.
the thing that makes me happy is we kept Austin Reeves.
Let me ask you this though: what if you could have gotten something better than Mark Williams for Austin Reeves?
I don't know if that was on the table. That's hypothetically speaking. I don't know if that was on the table.
Fair. What does Jared
I'm ready so I
Vanderbilt
can.
do?
Huh?
Oh, he's a power forward. Vanderbilt? Is he a big?
Jer- Where's Jared Vanderbilt? I haven't heard his name for a long time.
Yeah, he might be perpetually injured. I don't know. Jake Milton?
We have Shake Milton. Yes, we do.
All right, Jackson Hayes could get his numbers up a bit now that he'll be playing more minutes. Gabe Vincent, 5 points a game. I think there's going to be some struggles, but with those two guys, they might make all the struggles go away. It's just that's a lot to make go away. Reeves, him, like that. I just don't see that on defense working. Do you, as a basketballer watcher, that those three guys that could handle, let's say Memphis, or let's say OKC, or a team that moves quickly? Do you think that evens out the LeBron Luka factor in, or Houston with a running gun sort of thing, or Denver has the fast break in the league? Do you think they'll keep up, or do you think that will be a significant enough negative that it keeps them from success, or you don't think so?
I don't know. I think Mark Williams is the new wild card. Honestly.
But back to those three guys, right? If you have all three of those guys on the floor, Luka, Reeves, James, and you're
Well,
going up against a super fast young team that knows they're not
well,
as good as Luka and LeBron, but they're going to try to exploit that. They're going to try to exploit your speed and your
well. The
conditioning.
Nuggets aren't as young as the Nuggets are not as young as they used to be either. So it's not
But
like that
you know what I'm
gap
saying though.
hasn't closed.
But what do you think about that as a problem of those three guys? Like it's not a knock on them. It's just that they all have the same weakness. They all have very good strengths, but they all unfortunately have the same weakness. Whereas ideally, you complement each other through different weaknesses and different strengths. It feels like they're
Well,
all very weighted one way.
I'll put it like I saw in a movie once. As a matter of fact, I'll put it as Gene Hackman put it in the replacements. If nothing else, they should be fun to watch.
You've watched Luca, right?
Huh? Well,
Do
I
you
love
have no
Luca.
issue with the like non-stop him at the referees and just like people
Dude,
forget
everybody
that's
does that.
some more than others. Let's be honest here. Just straight honest, real time.
Everybody does
Some
it.
some more than others. And he's bad. That's not a not, I'm not saying it's the nail in his coffin, but it's a thing. That doesn't bother you at
It
all.
is a thing. I wonder if we're gonna have Mark Williams tomorrow night against Golden State, or if we're gonna have to wait till Saturday to see him too.
Yeah, who knows? Who knows? Everybody's got their own schedules with these private jets. Maybe LeBron flies them in.
But Golden State doesn't have much of a roster left either after what they gave up to get
Ooh,
Jimmy Butler.
they need a big as well. Those are hot demand for bigs.
Okay, actually, that brings up a seriously a legitimate, interesting question here. Between those four, we'll call them play-in teams, right? 7, 8, 9, 10.
Mhm.
Based on the moves they've made, because have the Warriors gotten better or have the Warriors gotten worse? Has the Suns gotten better? Well, the Suns haven't done anything, but like
You could still ask the same question. Has not doing anything made them better or worse? Well, worse because
okay,
you wanted to get better, right?
I'm gonna pull up the standings right now, and it goes like this.
If they
As
don't
soon as
add a
this YouTube,
proper big, like if they don't get a better big than Looney or whoever they've got there in
okay,
Golden State, mm,
here's Golden State's issue. Okay, as of this moment, and I'm just talking about this moment. I don't know what it's gonna look like later on. The four teams in order: Minnesota at 7, Sacramento at 8, Phoenix at 9, Golden State at 10, and Dallas at 11. Of those five teams, which two of those teams, as it sits right now, and I'm leaving the Spurs out of it because they're 5 games behind. Or they're only 2 games out now. Okay, I'll throw the Spurs in there too. Portland's a little too far out, but between those 6 teams,
mm.
the Mavericks, the Spurs, the Timberwolves, the Kings, the Suns, and the Warriors, which two of those 6 teams do you have going to the playoffs? That's the interesting question I have as we sit here tonight.
Say the teams one more. I'm looking at it now. So it's starting with the Kings
No, it's
or
starting with
T
the
Wolves.
Timberwolves.
Yeah. Oh,
Timberwolves,
look at you giving
Kings.
your Clippers a pass. You could have said Clippers. Damn, look at that from 5 to 12. I guess that's pretty far spread, actually. So yeah, go ahead. 7 to 12.
That's what I said.
Or fuck,
We'll
that's
go
about the
7 to
same
12.
though, isn't it?
The
Mm.
Timberwolves. We'll even throw the Clippers in there. Let's do that.
But then it's like,
Of
damn, you
these,
might as well put the Lakers in there too because they got the same as the Clippers. Oh, never mind.
no, they're 2 games ahead of the Clippers.
I see that.
But let's just, for the sake of the argument, let's say the Clippers can fall in there.
Yeah.
So Clippers, Timberwolves, Kings, Suns, Warriors, Mavericks. There's only 2 spots. Who gets them?
You're saying after the play-in, who's going to get 7 and 8?
After the play-in, who gets 7 and 8?
Mav and Sacramento. Your call?
I know who my two picks would be.
Did you hear mine, or was there no
I heard you
reaction?
say Sacramento.
And Mavs, Mavericks.
I think it's going to be the Timberwolves and Kings.
What gives you faith in the Timberwolves? They're the stinkiest bunch of stinks the whole season. They did not get better this year at all. They got worse, much
I
worse.
still think I still think it's
Gobert?
going to be the Timberwolves and the Kings.
Hey man, all right. Mark that down. I like that we both had the Kings. That's cool. Clippers
I dropped
will be the
another
interesting one,
video.
but yeah.
Not gonna lie, knowing the details matters. Knowing the details always matters. But understand that the tagline for this channel is the sports network for the sports fan. So our fandom's gonna come out on occasion. But I think it's gonna be of that 6 pack. I think it's gonna be the Kings and it's gonna be the Timberwolves.
What gives you faith in the Timberwolves?
I think Anthony, if in a 1 game situation, I think Anthony Edwards can take over. I didn't say they do damage. I'm basing it on a 1 game situation.
Okay. But wouldn't so you're saying him over some of those other guys like KD or Steph and
Yeah, I think in a 1 game situation, I'd bet
I
on
don't know if he's
Anthony
got the
Edwards.
I've had the privilege and the non-privilege of watching a ton of Minnesota close game finishers. I'll pull up a number for you that you may want to take into account. Anthony Edwards clutch time numbers this season.
Oh, here we go.
It's relevant, no?
It
Like the
could be
last 5 minutes.
depending on
Anyways,
how
he was
close
like,
the game is. It could be.
in terms of winning the games, so yeah, anything within 5 points in the last 5 minutes, I think they consider clutch, if I'm right. Anyways, when I heard the stat maybe a couple weeks ago, the team was like 0-4 or 0-5 when he had taken the last shot. And come on, where is it here? Anyways, there was serious doubt forming that this guy could perform consistently. And being on a team that there's always going to be that one dude exclusively doing it, it's easy to key in on him for 1 game. Oh, here we go. Here's the stat. Anthony Edwards is currently 0 for 12 in the final 5 seconds. So for all his buzzer beater stuff in the fourth quarter, he's 0 for 12.
Okay.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. And LeBron James would have a similar thing where he was not great for a while in his career at clutch time shots. So I don't know. I'd put it for a KD over or a Kyrie AD combo. I'm putting over Edwards. Although he is leading. Anyways, lots of stats you can look at through that, but
Yeah, you
just from
can
the eye.
handpick.
So from the eye test, just from every game that I watched, he came up short, and it was just like waiting for it. It was like, all right, here he's going to go again. He's going to dribble it off his foot, or he's going to throw up a crazy shot, and it's not going to go. And it just didn't have a high hit ratio for that part of the season. So
I just want to say none of those 6 teams is a good option for which one's going to come out of a play-in.
I don't know if I'd be sleeping on them Mavs as much as you want to hate on them. It's like if I told you that a healthy best
I
playing
will
his
say
best
this
in his
again.
career, AD playing his best in his career, Kyrie.
I will say this
Is that
again.
why is that irrelevant? right? With PJ
I will say
Washington,
this again.
Spencer Dinwiddie.
I am having fun at Nico Harrison's expense. Okay?
Yeah.
Because I think this is a deal. He's going to wake up a year and a half from now and go, probably shouldn't have done that one.
No, man, because why would his principles change a year from now? Oh, you know what? I should have just done what the diva wanted me to do, and that's just give him money without any conditions. No, my principles aren't going to change on that. Why would his? That's why it's a principle. It's not going to change. It's not. That's I think why he made it. It's like he knows that that's never going to change for him. His principles will always remain the same. And if Luca makes a spiritual transformation, hey man, that's cool. But that was not in the cards for what we saw, and I trusted my principles, so I'm good.
And you were wrong. But
Hey man, at least I went with my principles. Like it or hate it.
I actually hope Dallas makes the playoffs because I want to see a Lakers Dallas playoff series.
I would tell you,
If you
man.
want, if you want my honest opinion, that's the truth. I want Dallas.
Clay Thompson is he's averaging 15, close to 15 points a game on some pretty high percentage threes. You've got PJ Washington, Daniel Gafford. Najee
Well,
Marshall. I don't know if I feel about him, but yeah, I don't know. Out of all
well,
those teams that we named off there, of who you think is going to make it, I put them well ahead of. Uh,
they got blown up by 43 and then lost a heartbreaker by 2. So I don't know what Mavs team's gonna show up. That's the thing with me. I don't like the inconsistencies that I see in this team.
well, then there's a
They're
conspiracy
Jekyll,
theory.
they're Jekyll and Hyde. This Mavs team.
Well, that's what happens when you have a leader that is MIA half the time.
Look up one thing for me while we're still sitting here almost 2 hours into this thing. Look up the record with Luca versus the record without Luca, please, if you can. Because your
Hold on,
stats
say
guy is
again.
flying. Huh?
Say again. What was the question?
I said, if you can do this, look it up for me. What's the record with Luca versus the record without Luca this season? I'm just curious.
I had to go back a ways to see when he played last, right? That was December.
No, just this season. What's the record with Luca versus without Luca?
I don't know. You'd have to count his games, and I don't know how I'd count those stats.
No, you can look. You can look at Google and just go, "What's the record with and without Luca?" It's not difficult
With with Luca this year.
with Luca in the lineup this year versus what is it without him?
Okay, so it says they have a different answers here. Without Luca, it says. So slightly above 500 with, slightly below 500 without. But for a month ago, the Dallas Mavs were 5-1 without Luca. There was an article here in November saying Mavericks' record without Luka Doncic is shocking. Actually, for the last 2 years, it's been surprisingly good with Luka. What about last
That's
year,
what I mean. Like,
2023? But that's not working in his favor. Of like it should be, you know, oh, they lost so much. It shouldn't be they won more sometimes without him. Like that's the opposite direction. Okay, well, try and see if Google's lying. Okay, this one says Dallas. Oh, that was on November 26th. Three and one without Doncic and 7-7 with him during the 2024 season. So they're actually better without him during the season.
so I have a question for you. If Nico's so confident in his trade, how come he offered Mavs season ticket holders refunds?
I don't know. Being a good guy, I guess. Not his money.
Nice cover. You worked real hard
Is that
for
a
that
thing?
explanation.
Oh, is that an actual thing?
Yeah, they offered refunds to Mavs season ticket holders after the trade.
I guess that's a good thing to do.
We messed up, here's your money back.
I think it's more, oh my God, if you guys are going to keep fucking crying about it like little babies, why don't you just take your money back? That we're good. Because I think that's more what it was. Because everybody in their coffins that they're bringing out, like, get over it, man. Dude couldn't get in shape. Cry me a river. Here you go. Here's your season tickets back. That's how more I receive that. It's a take your shit and fuck off type of thing. Like, I don't need to hear it. I've made the decision. Oh, oh my God. Oh. It's like, I just
And you
brought in
talk
an
about
all
people being
NBA
stubborn and
defender.
not being able to change their ways.
Hey man, if I brought in Anthony Davis to make the team an actual competitor this year, I don't understand why you want your money back, but here you go. Oh, because your fantasy of the greatest player of all time coming in to just dance his way to a championship, even though he's not willing to do the hard work, that's fantasy. Patrick Mahomes has to do the hard work. Everybody that got
Patrick
to the point of,
Mahomes has striped friends.
hey, you can use what you got, but eventually you have to overcome your weaknesses to win. And if you're not willing to work on that, you're not going to win. That's maths basics. Who's never worked on something and then succeeded? Like that's not a classic story of the guy who didn't work hard and made it just the most inspiring of all.
Yeah, they don't make movies about people that just make it on natural talent. That's not how it works. You know that. Come on now.
Well, that's
The one
exactly it. Except for the whole world here
that's a
is willing to
skewed
cheer on the
argument,
guy
and
that's.
that's a skewed argument, and you know it.
But that's what I mean. Why would we suddenly cheer for the guy who's just coasting on his natural talent and not doing the hard work when every movie we ever watched was about the opposite?
They love the guy that you threw under the bus.
But you're not answering my question. Why? Why are we celebrating the guy that's not the thing that we've watched in movies? It's
For
honest
the same
question.
reason
Why?
we celebrate when Mick Foley won the world title, because he's a common everyday man who made good.
That's not Luca. Luka was raised in a little basketball tube in Slovenia and played professional since he was 14 years old or something like that. Like, he's not your average Joe. And
But
he's,
that's how they view him. They view him
but
as one
that's
of
not,
their own.
but so this is the thing. None of it has to do with reality. So if they're going to get upset at their own story playing out the way it's playing out, it's not on Nico to manage their little movie happening in their heads because none of it's based in reality. Luca's not their friend. He doesn't give a shit. But the
I'm not
fantasy
saying he does.
matters, and the fantasy's fine. It's just I think it's gotten to the point where it's like, yeah, if you want your money back, here you go. We got a championship to win here. Not we're not here to cry about something that was written
You know
long
what? I
ago.
take that back. Because of that smug response, I take that back. I hope Dallas misses the play-in altogether and Nico has nothing but egg on his face. Just for that response.
Hey, if again you want to find me the movie where the guy who refuses to get in shape continues to then just win upwards for not doing the work, I'll wait for it. It's just
The
not a
great
movie
white
that's
hype.
often told.
The great white hype. Guy does
Who's that?
nothing but gain weight and still is the world heavyweight champion.
Who's that?
Have you seen the great white hype?
No. Does he have a team
That's
that's
a good.
relying on him to get
No,
in
it's a
shape, or is it
boxing
just
movie.
him?
It's a
Oh, okay, so
boxing
it's not
movie.
the same. When's there ever been a guy that is playing on a sports team that didn't put his ego aside for a minute for the greater good of the team? That was what was asked of him. It's classic movie material, man. It's just
We're not
weird that
living
the
in a
audience.
movie here, dude. We're not living. You just traded
Bro,
39 and 9.
that's exactly what people are living in is a movie, and
You
I just don't
traded
understand.
39 and 9.
Bro, he could score 50, 10, and 10, and he could be the greatest player to have ever touched a basketball. If he doesn't do the thing it requires to win a team championship,
That's a
it
great
won't
fantasy
matter a
right there.
damn.
He could be a 50, 10, and 10 guy, and it wouldn't matter a damn. That's a great fantasy there.
Well, no, I said because he wouldn't have a championship. If
He
we're just going to
came
celebrate
awfully close.
numbers, yeah, with a team,
He
it's
came
not,
that
dude.
close.
I, I don't know how you go Jekyll and Hyde from all about the team, all the hard
And
work
now he's
to
got.
all it's all about the individual and just this diva who can do anything by the flick of his fingers because you know why? Because he's
He's
special.
special.
He's special. He's very
He's
special.
special.
Dude,
He is special.
it actually it infuriates me, I guess. And I'll just put that bluntly.
I want to know
If you want
why.
to be special, well, because it's like Bronny. It's like that's why. He's not working hard, but he gets all the
Ronnie
breaks.
has nothing to do with this.
He's my example. He's my analogy of saying somebody that doesn't do the work necessary but gets the breaks and everything from it. And just like, hey man, that's great if you're Bronny, but for all the other guys that are working their ass off, they don't really need to respect that because they're working their ass off. And if you're a guy that's not working his ass off, I don't need to respect that, right? If I'm a basketball player on his team. And it's crazy that everybody's giving that a pass. It's like, when did hard work and teamwork go out the door? Shea and Joker are the epitome of that, and they're succeeding. But there's this guy who does the opposite, and he's the god. Nah, not in my books, man. It's infuriating. Like he's the opposite of what a leader should be. He's the guy who's all about number one, f everybody else. But to everybody else, he's still the favorite, even though he's only about himself. I don't get it. I don't get it, man. You think Luca cares about anybody other than himself? I'd love to see it.
Yeah. Well, I'd bring up the argument that I always bring up, but then we'd just be going in circles, so I'm not touching that tonight because
Fair.
we're gonna have the same opinion of it we always have, so I'm gonna leave it be. However, Nico, I hope this works out for you. I really truly do, because to the rest of
I
the
hope your
league,
radical change of heart goes well for you of cheering on the villain, the guy who doesn't work hard but gets
I've
the
supported
break.
Luca
Like,
on this podcast before he was a Laker.
yeah, but this whole you just get to win because you're special. You get to have everything because you're special. That's that's not the Mo that I was talking to. Oh, I got the junkyard dog fan, the guy that appreciates the lunch bucket
I
guy.
love JYD. I love
Then
I
how can
love
you love
JYD.
the guy that does
But
the
but
opposite?
but
He's
listen
an
but
insult to
listen to me.
everything JYD stands for.
Listen to
Is
me.
he
If
not?
you're gonna put a monkey's paw in my lap, I'd be a fool not to use it.
What's the story of the monkey paw? Only fools use it.
You have to
And when
understand.
you do, then the monkey paw teaches you the lesson. So I hope that finally lands on the Lakers when the monkey paw teaches them the lesson.
My hand is gonna get heavier thanks to this guy. Why? Because there'll be a 10-pound ring on it. That says World Champion Lakers.
If that's what keeps you warm at night, fantasy will
I
keep us,
love
you know.
I love
It's
JYD. The reason that this is not different, but the reason this is a rare occasion is because Lucas don't fall out of the sky. It would be like the Lakers trading Magic Johnson for God's sake.
but what if Matt? But again, we're just playing off their best qualities, and you're imagining that Luca doesn't come with a negative side.
Magic had negatives.
Did he have them like this? Could he not do basic professionalism? Could he sacrifice for his team?
Yeah.
Two things.
Well,
That's all we
he
ask.
had
That's
he
all
had
we ask.
Showtime Lakers.
Yeah, but all we ask is, can you show basic professionalism and sacrifice for your team?
Okay, I'm gonna go there one more time because you're kind of forcing my hand here.
I
I
just don't
asked
know
you to
what's the
let me
big
play
ask
those
about
two
that.
games. I asked you to let me play those two
Oh my
games,
God.
and
You
you
don't
told
know
me
that he
no.
did. You don't know that he did. You're making that up as if it's some type of a magical Luca hotline that you got tuned into. Maybe he said, I don't give an F and fly. You don't know. We don't know. So all we can go is based off actions, and he chose not to play. That's all we know. We don't know how, why, or
They
this, that.
sat him after he played that first quarter in Slovenia. You think he wanted to not finish that game?
Yeah, who knows? I don't know what's in Luca's mind. All I know is his body language, his actions, and his way of going about life. What else can we go off of? Can't be inside this
All,
man's head.
the only fact I'm paying attention to is we have a top 5 player in the league on our roster, and
And man, I
we just gotta we
the
just got a
o-
center.
the only thing wrong with
Carlos,
a monkey's paw is that it comes with a bat. There is another side to it. It's like, hey, it's great to have the monkey's paw, but there's a reason not everybody's like, you know, ready to learn that lesson again.
February 25th. Circle it
Yeah, it's locked in.
because that's Lakers Mavs February 25th.
Wonder if we'll see them. See, see.
But on that note, G, it's almost 10 o'clock.
Holy, we done some time today.
We done another
Um,
2-hour show today.
my computer's running low. Ended up.
And Good luck, Nico. And you've got about 5 people rowing your boat with you against millions of people. So
Hold
good luck
on.
to you.
Hold on.
And just so you know, those 5 people are my boy G, who I love to death, Logical Raptors fan, some guy named Skip Bayless, and Colin Cowherd. And we know how much you respect Colin Cowherd. Don't act like you haven't ripped Colin a new one every now and again on this podcast, as well as Skip Bayless. So you're riding with some of your enemies here, bro.
Yeah, we're all right with that, I think.
Oh, and Nico Harrison. Sorry, there is 5. Yeah. So
Sometimes when the whole herd is jumping off the cliff, it's good to be the one that said they saw something ahead to watch out for. So that's all I'll say on that.
all
Bye.
right, brother. Well, you have a good night. And if there is a
Yeah.
trade big enough tomorrow night, if there's a trade big enough while I'm at work, and I go home and I click on my phone, we will definitely hop on and have you covered
Hey, it's not going
tomorrow
to get
night.
bigger than Brandon Ingram, so forget about it.
Trade of the night. Trade of the night.
Hey,
Raptors
man,
going to the
I'm actually
play-in.
stoked on that. I'm actually kind of
Raptors
stoked on
going to the
that.
play-in. You heard it here first.
Let's go. Let's go. He's a fresh start for Brandon Ingram. Let's go. No
And
doubt.
in case somebody clips that, that was sarcasm.
They were going to be playing. Could be. Could be. Why not? Build a winning culture. That's what I'm on. That's what I'm saying.
Culture seems to be the word of the day, apparently.
You either get it or you don't. That's what they're saying.
You either get it or
LA's
you don't.
he's already doing his Snoop Dogg
The little
LA.
LA sign, yeah. The little LA sign. See?
Hey,
LA.
at least Snoop will be on his side this time, um, and not trash
I
talking
want to know how Snoop
him.
Dogg feels about this.
Hey man, probably like everybody right now, stoked until we see him not running back on defense a few times, and then we'll see. Maybe that won't matter. Maybe it won't, but it might matter. So we'll see how fans respond
We
after
shall see.
that.
We
No
shall
doubt.
see. And remember, the Dallas Mavericks play their 3rd game since the trade, and they haven't won one. So we'll see what happens tomorrow night.
Hey man, whenever Luca gets back, that'll be cool to see too.
Saturday at 1 o'clock is
One. Ooh,
the
that's coming up pretty quick. Yeah, I imagine he'll have a big game. I don't think he's gonna have
I don't
like
even know
he's
who we're playing. I just
that is the thing about it. It's like the Monkeys pod can do the craziest things. He'll just show up and score 40. I don't doubt it, but that's not. Yeah,
see the fact that you know he can just roll out of bed and score 40, and you're just like,
again,
eh.
but that's not the issue whatsoever. It's like again, he could score 60 and 10 a night. It's not going to bring us to the point of winning a championship and bringing the culture to a point of sustaining that.
Well, here's the thing too.
It's just numbers, and
Here's
I
the
know I just keep going in circles, but it's just numbers, man.
no. But here's what I'm going to say to end this podcast because we've been going for 2.5 hours or whatever it is. Whether you're whether you're Nico Harrison, Luka Doncic, uh, Anthony Davis, the Dallas Mavericks, the Los Angeles Lakers, or whatever the case may be, it's really simple when it comes to the world of sports. All this don't mean a thing if you don't win the ring.
Ooh, nice one, man. Nice one. That is it. That is the great equalizer, decider, and everything around it. So that is a fact.
Yeah. Forget whether you're a Mavs fan, a Bulls fan, a Kings fan, Laker fan. Celtic fan, it don't mean a thing if you don't win the ring.
Hmm. Just ask Jason Tatum. Finally
Is
got
that
there.
fair?
Yeah, big time. Big time. Just ask Harden. Just ask Embiid.
It doesn't matter if you're Rob Pelinka, James Harden, Joel Embiid. It don't mean a thing if you don't win the ring.
Hmm. I mean, even Kuzma's got a ring over.
The funniest bit I've ever seen on TNT is when they had the Champions Club and they wouldn't let Barkley in because he didn't have a ring.
Man, that is good. That is good for Barkley.
And they
Only guy
got
that
like
could take
Mark
it in stride.
Madsen strolling up. And they got like Mark Madsen strolling up into the Champions Club because he's like the 13th guy on the Laker bench. And Charles
Real.
Barkley can't get in because he doesn't have a ring.
Just the way the cookie crumbles, Chuck.
But that's the great thing about this sport. We get to settle it on the floor. We can argue, we can debate all we want, but we get to settle it on the floor.
Postulate. That's it, man. No doubt. And Zach Edey would look great tonight. Shout out Canadian.
Hey, Zach, Edie Kelly Olynyk's on his way back to Miami or somewhere. Or no, New
Yeah.
Orleans. Sorry, it's going to New
Oh, I would go
Orleans.
for him.
But for my man G, because we've been at this for 2 hours and 15 minutes. I'm Mo Money, and until next time, may the ego come from a place that keeps you humble. Uh, and maybe Nico Harrison needs to be humbled just a little bit. But that's just my opinion. I'm Mo
I
Money.
think one
He's the bistro of
of those two
basketball
people
network.
in the relationship does, and one of them speaks
Huh?
Slovenian and one doesn't. So one of those people needs a humbling, but one of them also speaks Slovenian and one doesn't. And I won't
Uh,
give any else away.
we'll see you next time here on At the Buzzer. And we might have some more surprises coming for you on the Mo Money Sports Network. We'll get into that another time. But we're working on some things here on the network. We'll see you soon. Much love from me and G. Thanks for rocking with us. And like I said, if there's anything that happens tomorrow that is significant, we're not going to hop on here if somebody trades for a second round pick and a role player. But if there is a significant deal, as always, we'll be back tomorrow night.
Yo. KD to
I just had
Orlando.
to, I just had to throw that caveat in there because I know some smartass will be in the comment section, be like, uh, Marky or the Birdman got traded for a second round pick, and you guys didn't come back and do a pod about it. Yeah, we're not doing that. Like, if there's a significant deal, we'll be back tomorrow night.
Yeah, you betcha. You betcha.
All right. Good night, everybody. Mamba out.